I've spent time where I try and get up and study or work, and I try and push the envelope all the time. I've tried to have 18 hours of straight working. So a day that I might be fasting, I might not eat anything for the whole day, maybe a whole 2 days or 3 days, which I've been known to do time to time. I will see how far I can push my cognitive ability. I'll say, okay, I'm going to try and work for 18 hours straight. Yeah, I might take a 5-minute break to stretch my back or something like that if I'm sitting in this chair all day. But honestly, I've tried to do it. And I've tried to do several different things with respect to brain power and productivity and efficiency. And here's one thing that I have noticed, and I have read this several times in scientific literature. For anyone who knows me personally, I am very into going on Google Scholar, so on and so forth, PubMed, and just reading studies on things that I like. One thing that has been repeatedly brought up in a lot of scientific literature about the brain is that the brain functions best in 90-minute cycles. Now, I have found that to be 100% true. What I have noticed is that if you want to be very, very productive, I would say, some people say you have 3 or 4, I would say you have 2 really high quality 90-minute cycles that you can use to get things done. I would work around that by thinking, what are the 2 most important things that I need to do today, or the most important work I need to get done? It might just be one thing. Give yourself 2 90-minute cycles that are separated, if you want it to be ideal, by maybe about 60 to 90 minutes. It could be longer. I think that if you don't give it the 60 to 90 minute kind of cool down period, that you're kind of just, it's not really a 90-minute cycle anymore. You're trying to extend the cycle beyond 90 minutes. It's too short. And I noticed that quality begins to dip. Now, after those 2 cycles, I have also found that in a 3rd or 4th or 5th cycle, you can do it. You can focus and get stuff done, but it's not at the same quality that those first 2 cycles were. So I like to really, really think, okay, what are the main things I got to get done? And I put them into those 2-minute, what I call focus tunnels. I think maybe someone else has called it a focus tunnel. I'm not sure where I got that term. It just kind of popped in my head one day. So forgive me if it comes from somebody else, but it's basically just a 90-minute, I'm not focusing on anything but this. I'm keeping everything out of the way, and I'm focusing on this one thing. I'm not multitasking, I'm not checking my phone, I do my best to not even go to the washroom. Yes, I would use the 90-minute segments to get the really important things done, and recognize that after those 2 that you use in the day, like, your quality is going to drop slightly. And then the last thing that I want to share with you guys, as I'm ranting about productivity and things that I've suggested to people, and even myself, that has worked lately, is that in a day, you should be creative before you're productive. The reason I say that is because I consider creative a part of productivity. You're producing something, but creativity calls on so many different areas of the brain, and it's asking for a level of enthusiasm and energy that you might not have at the end of the day. You might not have after you've executed several tasks, after you've done several things. And so I would suggest that if you have a creative task in the day, that you do it first, and that productivity comes later. Now, here's how I'm going to define creation and production, and creativity and productivity. I would say creativity is anything where you're trying to go from 0 to 1. So anything where, you have nothing, you have a blank sheet of paper, and you're trying to come up with an idea, you're trying to storyboard, you're trying to, in some cases, let's say, write an ad, you're trying to think about a business that you want to have, you're trying to do all these different things that require going from nothing to something. I would consider that a creative task, and I would do that early. I would use my first focus tunnel, perhaps, to get that done. Now, productive tasks, I would consider things that you already created the system and the idea that you want to execute on, and now it's just really doing the work. So let's say you want to clean your room, right? Let's say you have an idea of the way the room should look, or the standard that you should keep it when it's clean. Being productive is really just then executing on that. It doesn't require you to go from 0 to 1, because you already know the outcome you're aiming for. It just requires your body to do certain tasks and your brain to basically idle while you're doing a few things. I would say also that, like, for example, let's go back to the writing idea. If you want to write a book, I would say, again, storyboarding, coming up with characters, coming up with plots, all that kind of stuff, that's creative. And then, like, editing or something like that, I'd consider editing more on the productive side, because you kind of already know what you're looking to do. You're trying to eliminate grammatical issues. You're trying to make sure the story kind of makes sense. And maybe in that sense, it bleeds into being creative in some senses, I'm sure. But for the most part, if you're trying to, edit punctuation, grammar, syntax, all these things, I consider that productive. So one thing I've noticed is that you will get way more stuff done if you're creative earlier in the day and productive later in the day. And I know that kind of goes against some of the advice that some of the gurus say out there, but this is what I found to be true, and I have been absolutely relentlessly obsessed with productivity for quite some time. So guys, I know that was a bit of a rant, but hopefully you guys found some value in the things that I was talking about with respect to productivity. I considered making several different videos about each one of these topics. I just think that I could whoever has the attention span and the interest and really the drive to improve themselves and be more productive will listen to a video like this, even though it's a little bit on the longer side, because it is genuinely made to help you, and I've seen it help several already high-performing people get better and better, including myself. And so guys, I want to leave you with that. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Spencer with Must Become. Always remember that your potential is your obligation, and so what you can become, you must become.